So today, I'm very much so trying not to let the body dysmorphia take hold. I talk a lot about body dysmorphia on this channel in general, just because I feel like it's something that a lot of I guess gym rats in general go through. It doesn't really, affect disproportionately one gender. It's men, women, non-binary, anyone who's going through the gym. If you're trying to get stronger, there is this like weird human psychotic thing where when we get obsessive about progress, we get obsessive on all the ways that we're not making that progress. And for me, that's kind of manifesting in the ways that school is stressing me out. Keeping my scholarships, keeping good grades, it involves, pushing myself very, very hard in my classes. And so I'm learning a lot. I have a bunch of working projects. I have all this cool stuff going on. But in the moment of everything, like it's easy to look back. It's easier for me to look back last year and be like, oh yeah, these things were easier to accomplish. But when I was in the middle of like a hard math class, I was venting on camera. I was on YouTube like, man, this has been a hard week. And it's the same thing I'm going through now. It's so much easier to look back on your past than to realize like how hard it is in the moment. That's why I love talking to like newbie lifters, is because it's a whole different ballgame. I can give you like all this stuff I've learned because I've made it out of that, pressurized point. But in the moment, like it's so much worse, it's so much compounding, it's so much rushing through your head because it's all new and it's all scary. And so like right now, thinking about like everything new and scary in my classes right now, like I got stress acne going on in different places. I still haven't shaven. I keep like reminding myself today, shave, and then I don't. I grow beard hair a lot faster than I feel like other people. I've had friends that are like, I wish I grew like hair as fast as you, but like a beard does not look good on me. So it's kind of like a little curse that might be a blessing for others. I don't know. Anytime I get beard scruff, I'm just thinking like, man, it's been a rough week. Even though it doesn't look like awful, it's just that body dysmorphia, It's that identification of yourself where you're like, I'm not good enough, and what I'm giving out into the world is not good enough for A, B, or C reason. But that's not the truth. And that's why I love talking on camera, because like, I feel like I get to vent out everything. I get to put out this version of myself into the world that's very vulnerable, where I get to say like some days I come in and I'm like, boom, leg day, I'm ready to hammer this out. And some days I come in and I'm just like, guys, I'm not feeling it. I'm not looking at myself in the best version of myself. I'm not giving myself enough grace. I'm not letting myself slow down. I'm not accepting everything, accepting all the challenges that I have placed upon me. Because I have a lot of blessings, but I also have a lot of challenges. So like, I'm not going to discount anything that's pushing me in my life to make certain decisions. I think it's very, very powerful if you become a person that doesn't judge, if you become a person that listens more, and doesn't like judge others for their like paths. Obviously, there's morally wrong things to do, but how did one person come to those decisions? Like that's something that TV shows and movies and a bunch of media covers. But in general, think about it from like a philosophical lens. How did one person come to the gym? Every person has a different story, and every person has a different identification of themselves. Some people think they look like the greatest ever when they might not even like do a lot. But to them, it took so much to get to that point. It's the power of perspective. It really can get in your head very hard. So with all that being said, the term of like what you aren't good enough at is very potent on this Target Muscles Day. I'm doing muscles that are not, in my opinion, raised up to the level I want them compared to other parts of my physique. So it's very weird because it's like a day where you can fall into body dysmorphia very easy, where you're like, this is not good enough, I need to hit this harder. But if you look at it from bird's eye view, I talked about this in one of my latter videos about the power of a bird's eye view, the power of kind of disassociating from you in the moment. You just look at your physique and you're like, this is not dysmorphia, this is just, I need to improve this here, and then it'll get things better. And then even if I think it's not as good as it was, after I train like a bicep, like very hard for 3 months, it's gonna be more on par, more level with my physique. So it's breaking past that dysmorphia in a lot of different ways, but it's also challenging the things that just straight up as a fact need to be improved. So hard biceps today, hard legs, hard chest, hard shoulders, hard forearms, many, many muscle groups all combining together that I'm working really hard to improve my maxes, improve my composition of my muscles and just a bunch of stuff. But that's a lot of yapping, that's a lot of introduction, but I'm excited, Let's hit target muscles very hard today. Okay, so bicep curls involves getting very, very deep stretch with this stuff. I'm gonna grab the 40s and just kind of showcase the deep stretch first, and then I'll talk a little bit more about it. Second set. Okay, 12 decent reps of that. I'll kind of break it down. Next set. Okay, so kind of the target here, what I'm doing with bicep curls is just when I'm doing like the 40s, I'm trying to get more of like a strain pull. So I come all the way down, not like a full extension all the way out and back, like kind of like a concentrated full rep one, like you might do with like lighter weight when you're sitting on a bench. Because I'm doing standing, I'm trying to not swing the weight as much as humanly possible and get it like kind of all the way down here to where it's like maybe like a 30-degree angle pulling out and then like riding up, because I feel like I get something that's pretty similar to that when I'm doing preacher curls, but specifically while standing, it's about like kind of building stability in your core, building that stability to like push up as much as humanly possible while you're in the middle of a workout. So with 40s, I'm able to get it for 12, but it involves like me almost swinging a little bit, and I think the ultimate point that I'm wanting to get to is where I'm not swinging at all, which is why I'm gonna have 35 last set. But for now, working really hard on these peaks, I'm keeping the 40, and last time I did 35 for 12 second set. This time I'm doing 40 for 11 and just working really hard at it. Yeah. Can't get that 11th rep. I'm just barely off on it, but I think 10's a good place. It's gonna help me train just a little bit more working on that 40. I don't want to cheat the rep at all. So the reason, you know, instead of doing like complete concentrated curls, that I'm kind of doing these standing slightly heavier curls, at least to start with, is mainly about mobility. So, you know, that's the main question that you might be asking. What's the switch from preachers now to just standing bicep curls? I mean, you're still working the same kind of muscle with each. The only difference is when you're sitting, so why make the change to like a standing one? Doesn't that take a little bit away from like you training the bicep? Doesn't it take a little bit away from the stretch if like when you're seating you can get full control with that, especially since you're used to preachers, you can get full control with that, versus if you're doing like kind of standing, you might get a little bit more fatigue. And that's a valid concern. That's kind of something that I took into account when I was making my plan. It was really a back and forth because I like preacher. I don't think I always do it the most effectively. I don't think I can push a bunch of weight with preacher. But I was very happy with like how isolated preacher felt. But then when I was getting to heavier weights, I was like, well, I was plateauing. I would move up and then kind of run back down, and then move up and run back down. And there was like a little bit of a plateau strength-wise with how much I could push on my body and how much muscle I could build, because like there was a wall of something I wasn't getting with my biceps. And I think that was because when you're sitting, you only have kind of like this limited range of motion. Like it's very, very isolated onto your biceps, but there's a certain range of motion that you can get with that. And with standing, you have to kind of brace your core. It's helping a lot more moving parts of your body. And so that's kind of what I'm focused on now, is training up my mobility in all these different parts. Like I want to be a flexible lifter. you can definitely watch videos of like pro bodybuilder Dorian Yates kind of talking about this concept that bodybuilders, you know, they have limited range of motion, and so that's why a bunch of them like walk around like this, is because like they're not as flexible in this sense. So when you're getting when you're wanting to like think about mobility, you're wanting to think about like, how can I move around the best but still be a strong person? And I think doing more like standing exercises, doing more like moving around, like doing stuff like power cleans, that can make you a little bit more mobile of a lifter. But yeah, that's kind of my abridged thought process, but 35 for 12 is what we're working now. Okay, 35, definitely under control. Somewhat stretched to 40s actually, and I felt really, really good about that. I like having the heavier kind of juxtaposed with the lighter. But that sets up good for next movement. So 310 for 12 is a pretty decent load being asked for. Oh, this is like a very far out. Whoever used this was not getting a great range of motion with their stuff. Here it is. Yeah, we want this a lot closer. So that's gonna give us like a better range of motion, because we can get our legs kind of closer, like right here. But we're doing a lot for leg press, but that's because, like I've said kind of in past videos, the point with leg press is we're working on trying to like get as much power dominant in our knees and our quads for when we work on heavier squats. It's not going to seem as like dominating if we have leg press kind of moving us forward. So the goal here is just to kind of like dig deep on 12 really hard reps. Pushing out in the beginning is going to be rough, but second set will look a lot smoother, and so will third set once I get in the rhythm. It's just, you know, probably shouldn't have worn so tight sweatpants today. These are like cuffed sweatpants, but that's okay. The tighter sweatpants, just try to get used to it and only focus on isolating the quads is the focus here. Ooh, I think that is the deepest range of motion I've had on leg press and the heaviest ever. So, oh my God, I probably peaked the mic so much there. That was a very, very hard first set of that. Honestly, that first set filled me with a bit of fear of how this next leg press is gonna go, because I was going like much below parallel on this, which I kind of ignored the advice I was giving in the beginning of how this is not supposed to be really focused about depth, and it's more supposed to be focused on like training up the explosiveness of my quads with kind of like half reps. But in reality, what I just did, I felt like was a lot more beneficial, getting like much deeper range of motion with leg press. So I'm actually going to restart it. I'm gonna do this. Now that my legs are all warmed up, I want to essentially just clone what I just did, clone that level of intensity, clone the level of like richness of those reps. And even if it gets like really loud, like that is, it felt like I was pushing beyond true failure, because like, you know, it's more of a question whether I hit 12 reps now, more than like a certainty of like, oh yeah, I'm just hitting 12 with half reps to get used to it. And now it's like, no, 12 is just the target, and like, it's gonna be rough to get there. Okay, so really, really good reps again. One more, and legs are absolutely gonna be destroyed after that. It's gonna be hard to walk. Okay, so I know this might be a convoluted metaphor, especially comparative to like some other things that I normally do. This looks so light. Ooh. Okay, that should be a lot better. I know this might be a convoluted metaphor because a lot of times I'm talking about stuff in like lifting terms, but when I was younger, I was really into animation, right? I was really into like how things were created, and when I got more into like TV and cartoons and anime and stuff like that, it interests me a lot to figure out what was inside the belly of the beast, how this stuff came to be. But that's besides the point. I'm getting a little yappy here. The point was, inside of this book, there was animation tips, how to make your art better, how to make your things stand out more in your field. And there was a quote from an old Bugs Bunny animator, an old Warner Brothers cartoon animator, where the author of the book was explaining that he went up to him and asked him, like, why didn't he listen to music while he was drawing? And the animator kind of exclaimed, like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why would you ever listen to music while you're in the middle of your art? I can't focus on more than one thing at a time, and neither can anyone else in this world. You need to only be tuned into your art. No music, no adulterants, no anything to stop you. And I think that's interesting advice if we take it in the lifting context, because, you know, I feel like 90% of the people that are in the gym, they're in there for like the enjoyment of it, right? So headphones blaring, music pushing you through the workout. I've done it many, 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 many times, for years, basically, including like getting me through cardio, stuff that gets me through a workout. It's, you know, invigorating. But in the context of what this guy is saying, I think it can apply to the gym too, of how he was saying, that's the stupidest thing he's ever heard. You can't focus on more than one thing at a time. I think that's true. I think you really can get decent workouts listening to music. But if you're wanting to be at a level of competition, if you're wanting to be at a level of like showing yourself off in a big way, if you're wanting to be at a level of like rapid growth, if you're like not patient about it, well, you're gonna have to cut some things out of the enjoyment aspect of it. And I think honestly, you can have a super enjoyable lift without any music pushing you forward, because mind-muscle connection is built when it's only you and the muscles. When I'm doing this stuff on camera, obviously, the filming might be altering my process a little bit, but I'm still in tune with my muscles. I don't think about the camera when I'm in the middle of the set. I think about what's going on between my muscles and the machine, the muscle and the weight. Whatever is like in between me, I'm perfectly in tune to what's going on. And I have a lot better sense of like when I'm pushing hard, when I'm not pushing hard, how far I can take something, where my endurance is going to carry me. I think a lot more people could take the advice of focusing on one thing at a time rather than getting caught up in wanting to complete a workout for the sake of completing a workout. If you enjoy working out, why not focus solely on it? Why see it as an obstacle to overcome every week? Why not see it as something you want to rapidly enjoy? party slam for a really, really intense leg press movement. That really stages that the intensity has to be raised for these other movements if I want to keep it moving with that high of intensity. Okay, last time with wrist curls, I managed 30 for 20 reps, and I think that's pretty good progress. But I'm kind of taking it a step further, similar to how I did with biceps, where the new question is, can I do 35 for 18 reps, or even 17 reps? Can I get the same amount of reps and really feel the same strain on my forearms? Well, 2 sets of this, and then 2 sets of reverse curls is gonna prove like the strength of my forearms. But in terms of like, I still need to, every week, I swear every week I'm like, I need to learn this different part of the forearm, but I'm gonna keep referring to it the same metaphor. The top side of the pancake versus the bottom side of the pancake. When I'm working on the bottom side of the pancake, it's a lot easier to be curling like this, so I get to feel it a lot more. Whereas reverse curls, it really is about the gripping the easy bar the right way and feeling out the full complete rep in control. So it's gonna be, can I get decent range of motion, because there's only so far your wrist can go. If I can only go like halfway with this, well, I'm barely getting any stretch. So it really needs to be a good stretch. Okay, decent bit of reps there, 18 here. Well, left wrist, it was certainly harder to get the full range of motion. I think I definitely need a little bit more training there. Okay, I want more focus on the left wrist this time, like working on its recovery, working on it not hurting as much when I'm doing my wrist curls, but still gonna go the same way as before, still gonna be working that inner pancake. I really wanna bring my wrist out a little bit more. Like before it was kinda like right here. I might wanna bring it out just slightly more so I can even tilt like my forearm down, bring it back up, and kinda like tilt the wrist down. Maybe it'll just be like trying to like bring it out more and like tilt all the way up. Or I don't know. I've got to work on the feeling of how it's doing. But either way, I definitely think the right is strong enough to get that 18. The left arm, I'm wanting to see more progress with it to where the wrists aren't hurting as bad while I'm in the middle of it. So right arm first. Only could get 16 with that. Two more. Okay, 18's there. 18's there. Jeez. Got a little spit. Spit in my system. Don't know how I got 18 on my left one, but I thought left was the less dominant one on this, but I still feel like forearms are going pretty crazy this set. Okay, with easy bars, I was still trying to like manage what weight I was at with it last time. So the first set, I failed for 12, but then I came back and got 15 the second set. So once I got warmed up, it was fairly simple. So this time I'm kind of like doing a reverse type of thing, where I'm doing more reps during the first set, and second set I'm giving myself a lower threshold to meet. I'm doing first set, getting 16 reps, complete control with the top pancake, and then second set, I'm dropping back down to 15, so 15 reps. And both of them are same with the easy bar, but it's just the amount of reps. Like, I'm gonna give myself one less rep so I can kind of like prioritize form second set and see if I can still reach 15. If I can go for 16 twice, that's great. If I can go even more, great. But yeah, it's kind of just like not trying to tire out my forms because I still have a couple of upper body things to do. I'm not going as high intensity like I was with leg press, but other parts of the movement I definitely will. Okay, definitely felt in it. Felt very locked in on that set. I was like kind of in my own world doing that, but yeah, it felt a lot of tingliness on kind of my forearms. I think they're getting a little bit fatigued, but like that's good. That's how I know that I'm hitting that failure. Is I don't want to like not feel my grip and the bar slip completely out of my hand and like I make a mess of things like drop dumbbells or whatever, but I want to make it so I can hit failure, but be able to control it on the way down, if that makes sense. Be able to set the bar down. Okay, still keeping the same pace of everything. I honestly think I can go ahead and gun for 16 reps. I won't have to worry about like distinctly getting one less. I can just kind of go ahead and target 16 with this. So there's not really much change to this set. It's more of just like, I was gonna say first set would be more of like shrugging it upwards, but honestly, after about the 5th rep, I kind of like realized my left elbow was kind of jutting out, so I jutted it in just a little bit more. I think it's probably jutting out due to like a little bit of fatigue from like allergy shots and stuff, kind of tanking this side, but like I'm not using my tricep here. I'm using my left forearm, so it was also probably a little bit of accounting for like my wrist strength that wasn't there of that first set of the inner pancake. But now that I'm doing outer pancake, after that 5th rep, I kind of tilted in and got it all the way. So outer pancake, just really focus on keeping elbows as tight as possible. Let me go to this last set. Okay, got a little bit more fatigued than I thought I would, but that's pretty good reps. That's pretty good 2 sets of that. So when I first kind of introduced these in my plan, I did 40 pounds for 16 reps, all 3 sets. Now I think that's a little bit too much with reps, because the point of like shoulder press is we're wanting our shoulders to be very like tough, We're wanting our shoulders to be able to press, highly when we're moving to other exercises, when we're moving on other like push exercises. When I'm gonna do heavy bench press later, I'm gonna need very strong shoulders. So they're gonna be pumped up here, but I need to go a little bit heavier. So I'm doing it on a machine this time, not on dumbbells, because there's not enough free benches tonight, but that's okay. I'm also doing a night lift, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. That doesn't really matter contextually, other than I have a small bit of carbs. I don't know. I feel like I haven't eaten that much today yet. I'm gonna have a big dinner, but I'm going on so many tangents tonight. My mind is racing. I'm doing it on a machine tonight just because there's not enough benches, And machines, I'm doing 90, which is, 45 times 2. Do some gym bro math, get your studies up, know what math is. I don't know why I'm being so aggressive with that. Anyways, these 3 sets, I'm gonna do 12 reps for it of like a heavier weight, which should be easier to manage. It is gonna be a little bit tough on a machine where everything is like very isolated on to my shoulders, but I think that'll be good for me. So there's no like cheating the rep at all. So 12 good looking reps. Okay, really happy with that. I think that should be super easily manageable for the rest of the sets. All right, second set, going at least a little bit harder than before. I wanna not really focus on slowed reps, but focus on kind of like quick reps. Focus on explosiveness at the top and control on the bottom half. So that'll kind of focus a little bit more on like allowing me to have that explosiveness on pressing movements. If I'm like really focused on once I get to the bottom, just building up that kind of that cue that once I get to the bottom of a rep, just blast out, blast out, blast out. And that can kind of transition to any time I'm doing a press hit movement. It's building that cue to blast out. And there's different ways you can kind of train. You can train for bodybuilding like how I do, which is not really powerlifting. It's not as much training the explosiveness, but ironically, if you focus on like an in-between, where some reps you actually do bring in some explosiveness, it can help train your maxes, put a little bit more weight on, ergo, you're gonna help shape your body and bodybuild a little bit harder, gain a little bit more muscle. It's a very delicate balance. I'm not powerlifting. I'm not looking to carb up like crazy, have a bunch of extra fat to help me move weight. That's not my goal. My goal right now is maintenance calories, slowly building muscle. It's not the most optimal way, I'll give you that. You need to be bulking and cutting if you really want to be building muscle. But in a college mindset as mine, where hard lifts I can't hit every single day, it's important. It's important to kind of strike that balance. But right now, not focusing on any other factor than explosiveness is here. Explosiveness is what I need to train here. All right, a lot more explosiveness. That's it. Might take a little bit longer of a break, get some water, and then really blast into that last one. Okay, so I think the general outlook for the rest of the workout is we're gonna be running hammer curls after this set of shoulder press, and then after hammer curls, ending it with heavy bench. I think that's a great stopping point to just kind of like thrash my chest as much as possible. Maybe throw in a static hold there, maybe throw in some 225 reps. I don't know. I don't know what it'll kind of look like, but overall, I'm just looking for progress, any form of progress. Like I kind of talked about earlier, just giving yourself grace. I'm gonna repeat it. I'm gonna repeat it because I feel like it's a core belief of me. It's a core belief of my channel. It's a core belief of just like my process in the gym. It's like you got to give yourself grace, because if you don't let yourself pick up the pieces of where you quote unquote fail, of where you drop the ball, of where you aren't present, of where you can't give all of yourself in a moment, you'll never build it back together. Like, you have to be able to scoop up remains of like a failed day, a skipped lift, any type of thing that you feel like is stopping you. You can't let it be this mental block that doesn't let you go anywhere afterwards. Like, it doesn't make sense if you do that. It doesn't make sense if you kind of just like let your progress be swayed by one little mistake. You have to be willing to like find a moment where you're like, okay, this wasn't my best, but I moved forward. You have to continually keep moving forward, or else you're never going to reach an end goal. If you just get stuck in your own like head, like where are you going to go? You're just going to be bouncing around in there forever. So it really is just about like pushing with as little progress as possible. It's about the one more rep mentality. It's about just like what you feel like is going to get you to your goals. I want to be able to bench 225 pretty consistently, one day be able to get it for 8. And you know, if I keep one rep mentalitying it, if I keep like pushing as hard as I possibly can, it might be within spitting distance. It might be within like getting close to like 4 or 5 reps of 225, maybe even 6 consistently on a Smith machine by the end of 2025. And then going into 2026, those first 3 months, like by the end of March, I might be able to do it like free weights without a spotter, knowing that I can kind of like confidently do that. Obviously, progress kind of tapers off. It's like, it kind of is like logarithmic curve where it just kind of goes up and then slowly kind of flatlines. Your progress isn't going to go up forever, but you know, it's that little progress. It's when you zoom in to that curve, you're gonna see it trending like up ever so slightly. And that is like deeper progress than you could ever know. That is more days than you could ever know. Okay, shoulders are a little bit taxed. I think that's a good little shoulder pump if I do say so. Hammer curls are next. Don't know if there's going to be available space, but I'm going to try and see if there's, you know, if I need to take a break and let some dumbbells open up. Okay, long rest period because I had to go to the bathroom for just a second, but now back ready for hammer curls. I'll take my phone out of my pocket so the dumbbell doesn't smash my phone against my quad while I'm doing these. But hammer curls, I've been able to manage 40 pretty effectively, I think. In general, kind of, I guess my target for these is 40 for 12 because that's what I managed last time. But really the kicker is I've been kind of hanging on to 40 for just a little while, really trying to like pure isolation. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, I want, maybe it's like a perfectionist attitude, but like I'm striving for something where my body can handle all of this. There is no like swing. There is no accounting for anything. Even later on into the workout, like I used to have hammer curls second on a back and biceps day. Now that I'm having biceps be a part of target muscles day, it's later on in the workout. So it's later on after stuff is pre-taxed. Not individually on the bicep, of course, but hammer curls is coming after the main bicep that I'm doing. So the brachialis is coming afterwards. I don't know, maybe I'm talking a lot, but I'm trying to break this down to explain roughly that my bicep is already tired. It's already pre-taxed. It's already out of endurance comparative to the rest of my body. And in general, can't intake as much air because I've been exhausting so much of like, I don't know, just lifting power throughout the course of this workout. So when I'm doing hammer curls, it's taken me a while with these 40s to get totally used to it, but I want maybe this workout, maybe the next workout, max like amount of times in, you know, 2 workouts to be the last time I see these 40s. I need to go ahead and move on to 45s, struggle with them just as hard as I've been struggling with the 40s to, you know, build progressive overload. I can't forget progressive overload. It's the one concept that's more important than anything. Okay, 10 reps, maybe 12 reps. I didn't count that very well. I'm gonna go back and watch it, make sure it was 12 reps before I go forward. So I wasn't tweaking, I actually did get all 12 reps, so that's good. Second set, not much to talk about. I'm just gonna like hammer the brachialis pretty hard, really focus on strict curls again. I guess it's more action than talking at this point because that was a pretty good first set. Ooh, okay, I definitely think maybe next workout will be the final one. Working with these 40s, I think maybe a little bit of swinging with 45 is going to be in order. Just with how, it's still like taxing a lot to my biceps, but I need to put some progressive overload in front of me so the 40s seem less intensive, I need to kind of mix heavier weight with this controllable weight that I'm doing. So 195 for 10 is what first set is looking like. Very heavy strain on bench press, but that's what this is, right? This is going incredibly heavy. This is pushing everything I have into like really heavy reps. And with Smith machine, it's not as heavy as you might think it is. There's a little bit of assistance from the machine. There's a little bit of mental assistance from the fact that if I fail, I can just rack it back onto the machine itself without much effort. Whereas, with a fail, like that one chest day I had the other day where I failed the reps. I failed 3 times and I had to rub the bar against my legs, and that hurt. That freaking hurt, I'm not gonna lie. Because it's basically like a carpet burn against your skin when you're rubbing like this metal and trying to throw it off you as fast as possible. It's not pleasant. So when going heavier, when knowing that you're reaching that failure state more often, you gotta have a little bit of insurance. Smith machine is insurance, but it's also training up your strength to a point where you can translate it into a free weight, which is, more impressive. A lot of strain, a lot of uncertainty if those reps were going to be clean or not, but at the very end with hard pushing Smith machine, it was good. It was a good little warm-up. So I realized what my issue was on that first set. My issue was I was bouncing the weight off kind of like right below my chest. I was kind of using my stomach to bounce the weight up. I wasn't directly having my elbows be lined up with the bar to where I could really push out all my chest with it. And that's actually going to tack off a bunch of strength that you would have if you tackled this, without that in mind. So it's very important to line yourself up with the weight. It's very important to line yourself up when you're just thinking of this whole movement in general. You want to have it directly targeting your middle chest. If you're doing flat, you got to have it target middle chest. If you're doing lower chest, you got to have it land right underneath your pec. If you're doing upper chest, it better be rising above that nipple line or you're not getting the full strain of it. That's just plain and simple. There's no really ways around it. You have to be doing it right. And so you're going to feel it if you're not doing it right, like I did that first set. So I'm going to ameliorate some of that this set, hopefully. Gunning for 9 reps with 209. Or 205s, not 209. Jesus. Sorry about that weird mic grab. Could only manage a half rep of 205 at the very end there, but that's still better. That's still better progress than last time. Not going to count it as a full rep, but I'm going to mark it in my log that there's a half rep for last set. 225 as best as possible. Okay, barely any battery on the camera left, barely any battery in my system. I'm ready for a good talk. I'm ready to kind of break down the ideas that I've been talking about today about grace, forgiveness, pushing hard, intensity, all the different things. So many different things tackled in this workout. But the number one thing that I'm really focused on right now is 225. I was able to get it for 6 last time. A lot of crazy reps, but that 6th rep, I remember it. I remember distinctly it being like very taxing to get that 6th rep and not knowing if I could get it or not. I think I tried to go for a 7th and failed it. So this time, the only thing I'm gunning for is the 7th rep, is one more rep. I was only able to get a half rep of 205. It's showing my fatigue. It's showing it's not going to be an easy thing, but I'm going to spend a lot of extra time lining up, making sure my core is set, making sure everything is very, very focused before I go into this last set. Okay, I am very pretext, but I feel like I can't end on a bad 4th rep like that. I really want to push it all the way up, so I'm going to really, really try to work explosiveness for maybe one more. Ooh. Okay, so close to that. That was actually really, really good progress with fatigue kind of sitting, and I was hoping there'd be more there, but, I can't say that it wasn't a failure. It was a failure.